Howdy folks, and welcome to probably my final Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. video. Who knows? I promised you I promised me, I guess, that after the end of Season 7, that I would kind of do a wrap-up video with my thoughts about all of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I thought I would do that, and I delayed a little while because I was taking notes. I was thinking about, should I like, list things out, make sure I rewatch some episodes and stuff, and then I thought to myself, that's not going to be very genuine. That's going to be very analytical. It's not going to be off the cuff. It's not going to be my thoughts as I finish the series. And I really wanted to capture my thoughts as I finished the series. So I went ahead and threw all that out, and I'm going to just talk freeform here. Now, if a freeform discussion is not going to be terribly long, I'm not going to talk too long. But if that isn't your cup of tea, if you're really here for bullet points and lists and video clips and things like that, then this probably isn't going to be for you. So go ahead and skip it. I won't feel bad. But if you're interested in just a kind of a stream of consciousness a bit and kind of discussing some points about the show and opening the discussion to you guys, because I'm hoping you guys will contribute in the comment section of this video perhaps, then this might work for you. Might be something you enjoy. But Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. First of all, I mean, the big question I have, is this my favorite show of all time? I don't know. I know it's one of my favorite shows of all time. I rank my favorite shows, no particular order. Babylon 5, Farscape, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are like the three that come to mind. Now, I have a lot of favorites from when I was a kid, original BSG and things like that, which I know don't hold up. Time Tunnel, things like that. But I'm not going to count those. I'm counting just, my adult favorite shows. And I think Babylon 5, Farscape, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of the top three, and I don't know what order they're in. So I don't know if it's my favorite. It's the most recent. So maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe that will kind of put it above the others just because it's more recent. I don't know. What I love about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., though, is, we're following Avengers. Come on. The Avengers had just aired. It was like the greatest, let's admit it, at the time that movie came out. That was the greatest comic book superhero movie ever. You had all sorts of comic book superheroes. I'm a Marvel guy. I like DC too, but I'm a Marvel guy. And so you had all these Marvel superheroes. They weren't necessarily the ones you would expect, but they were all Avengers from the comic books. I'm not really a reader of the Avengers title. Didn't really read Captain America or anything like that. I mostly read Spider-Man and X-Men. But you got them all together. It's just this awesome movie. Everybody's in one movie together. They have this big epic battle. They have these great hero shots. The shot of the circle of them coming down, and it's just great stuff. And off of that, you get Coulson, who was kind of the glue that held everything together for the movies up to that point. He was one of the things. He and Fury were one of the things that kind of reinforced to all of us that this is going to be a series of movies that are really tied together. That they really are in one universe. They're all intertwined because you had Fury and you also had Coulson. And then Coulson dies, or seems to die. And then we get word from Comic-Con that, hey, Coulson lives. They're doing this new television series, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And you're like, yes, this is going to be awesome. So I was super jazzed. Now, I came into this season 1 with a glow right after the Avengers. And I know, when I look back on it, and I've rewatched season 1, and objectively, it was a little rough in the beginning, but I had this glow that I didn't care. It was Marvel stuff. It was weekly. I'm a TV guy. I'm less of a movie guy, more of a TV guy. I'm like a latchkey kid from the 80s. So, I was a teenager in the 80s. And so I was, watching TV, and in the 70s, I kind of grew up with TV as well. So, TV is my thing, right? So having a TV show in this Marvel universe, in this MCU, and we'll get to that in a minute, in this MCU was just a wonderful thing. So I loved it. And I never looked back, because every time Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. would start to drift in ways that I wasn't sure about. And this is going to be spoilery. I'm going to hit and miss spoilers all over the place. So if you haven't seen the series, don't listen to this. But they went to they went into and I can't remember the name of it all of a sudden. The artificial world, the virtual world. It'll come to me. And they, oh, it's coming to me. It's just like on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, they went in there, and my first reaction when that whole sequence started was, let's get it over with quick. And then they dragged it out. I'm like, come on, I don't want multiple episodes of this. It's just, but I really enjoyed the ride. And looking back on it, I'm like, that was awesome. Some of the best Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff we had with Fitz, and Simmons and their relationship there, and Ada and everything that she was doing there, and Daisy, and she thought she was going to be with Lincoln again, and turns out it wasn't Lincoln, it was Ward. But Ward being a good guy, I mean, that stuff was really good too. So, I mean, that one, I was a little untrusting of the show, and they paid it off, and they proved me wrong. Season 6 with Sarge. My first thought was, okay, come on, man. You know, Coulson, he died. He had this great final bit with May on the beach, went to Tahiti. It was just wonderful stuff, beautiful thing. And then you got to bring Sarge back. And I'm like, come on, man. But I love Sarge, and I love that whole storyline, and I love how that turned out. And this season started, and I'm like time jumping, back and, jump. And I started getting worried, but then they proved me wrong again. And then this just in every single episode, even in the season 7, when I was doing the reactions, there was the episode with the time loop. And my first thought was, okay, great. Here they go. Every sci-fi show's got to have this Groundhog Day episode. It's going to be a waste of time. It's going to get us nowhere in the end. No, it was a lot. Poor Enoch. But there was a lot in that episode, and it was just one of the best episodes of S.H.I.E.L.D. ever. It's probably, even looking at the final 2 episodes of season 7, it might even be my favorite episode of season 7. I love them all, but it might be my favorite. So, what is it about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that I love that makes it one of my favorite shows? Maybe my favorite series right now. I mean, maybe right now I just put it at the top because it's the newest. Is that consistency? Is that one? It's my gateway into it was a love for Marvel and a love for what they're doing with the MCU. And of course, later on, there was a big fallout between the TV guys, Jeff Loeb, and the movie guys, Kevin Feige, and the TV show stopped getting access to things, so it was no longer really tied to the MCU, and they've all but confirmed it was never, at some point it just completely diverged from the MCU. So you can consider it an alternate universe, right? Since Marvel has that concept now. So it's not really the MCU, but there's enough stuff there that it really got me in. That got me into this and got me really excited. But the characters that developed over time, Daisy, starting out with Sky, becoming Daisy, the relationships she built, not only her sister Gemma essentially became, her father essentially Coulson, or a father that she didn't have at the time, but found out she had, but then had to say goodbye to. And that whole sequence of sending her father off without his memory, and that was very touching stuff too. But that character development, Fitz and Simmons, for goodness sake, heart and soul of the show, and that development, and every time I would think they were jerking us around with Fitz and Simmons and the ship, they turned around and did it good, did it right. And I really love where they ended on that too, so Fitz and Simmons. So Sousa was a late introduction. I loved Agent Carter, so I liked the character to begin with. So it was good to see that Daisy had some kind of a romantic happy ending, at least as far as we know. And of course Mac, who only came in in season 2, originally came in and we thought he was a traitor, but turned out to be one of the most loyal and one of the most, heart strong members of S.H.I.E.L.D., becoming the director, and him having the opportunity to have a life with Yo-Yo is just great, the way that ended as well. So the character development was just awesome. They weren't afraid to kill characters. I mean, when they started season 1, you got Ward as like, he's like the number 2 male on the show. You got Coulson and Ward, and you've got May and Sky, and you're like, okay, there's our 4 top leads, right? But then Ward turns out to be Hydra. And then eventually Ward gets possessed by an alien and gets killed by Coulson. So, okay, they're not afraid to do that. And then poor Daisy, of course, she suffered a lot of the deaths. Her relationships, Lincoln and so forth, a lot of their mother, for goodness sake. So, but they're a show that weren't afraid to introduce characters, recurring characters, and not have them have happy endings, but also have characters that have happy endings. So it was very rewarding in that sense because you never knew for sure what was going to happen. I mean, even Coulson, for goodness sake. I mean, the joke was that he's really good at dying because he dies a lot, but each one of those deaths, I mean, the initial death, the whole show was set on the premise of death wasn't permanent, right? Because they brought Coulson back from death. So I don't fault them for that concept, but when he died, he died, in the end of season 5, he died. That we never saw that Coulson again. He never came back. We had Coulson Bott here, as you see on the screen, and Sarge. But that Coulson really did die. So, man, I love the character development. I love the characters. I love the pacing. One of the things, pardon me, I got like a hair in my mouth. Sorry about that. It was driving me crazy. Pacing is one of the things that, speaking of, drives me crazy about shows. I hate, if you listen to our podcast, Tuning into Sci-Fi TV, you know that I absolutely hate shows that are slow or plotting or take much longer to tell some sort of a plot or tell some sort of a story than they could. I love shows that just get to the point. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. always got to the point. And I talked about how some of the storylines, some of the plot lines would be dragged out a little bit, but they were always getting to the point. They were never slow and plotting. It might have taken them 6 episodes to do something I thought I initially wanted them to do in 1 or 2. But by the end of the 6th episode, I was like, yeah. I wanted all of that. That all happened really quickly and really, really fast, and it was well paced. So I was happy with that. So pacing wise, I love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It was to my mind, I've said this on our show, it was the example I would want all television writers and producers to look at as an example of how to do pacing. So please use this as an example. I thought it was brilliantly done. And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. also did a wonderful thing for a Marvel fan like me, and that is bring in a lot of cool characters. Not the least of which was Ghost Rider. Love Ghost Rider. I mean, we got to see Fury. We got to see a whole bunch of characters, but loved Ghost Rider. Big fan of Ghost Rider. Boy, the only thing that could have topped that is to see Blade or something, but love Ghost Rider. So that whole season was just amazing. Season 4, right? For Ghost Rider, I believe so. Right? Now I'm doubting myself. But that whole season was amazing. Especially, he was on the same season with Ada and with the... it just came to me again and I just lost it again. Not the Construct. Gosh dang it. I'll get there eventually. But he was in that same season. I wish he'd come back. They were going to do a Ghost Rider TV series, but of course that whole, like I said, TV movie side of things fell apart. And they couldn't do that series, which sucks. I hope they do. Maybe they will eventually do it. Because I like the way they did Ghost Rider here. The movies that were done were okay, but were just too cheesy, I think. They didn't have, in my mind, the real essence and power, if you will, or potency of what Ghost Rider stood for. What his purpose was, what he was doing on Earth. And they got that right in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so I love that. The humor was spot on for this show. I laughed and smiled at all times, the right times. I never felt it was too awkward. The drama, the tension, they never suffered from two-partitis. Two-partitis is something that we kind of coined on our show as well many years ago. Where you have a network television show that has a two-part story. The first part is always weak and padded, and its purpose is to get to a particular point that they predetermine that is going to be the cliffhanger for the second part, and then the second part's going to be full of action and pacing and have the meat of the story. And so we call that first partitis. So the first part's always kind of boring. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. never suffered from that, which I just loved. I really appreciated. So I've got pacing, I've got characters, I've got storylines, I've got introduction of recurring characters, cool, funny. What else can I say about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? What can you say about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Let me know, please, in the comments about what you enjoyed about this show that has meant so much to me and so much to a lot of people. Hopefully you. I mean, if you're here this long, like 15 minutes into this recording, you're probably meant a lot to you too. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments. That would be absolutely wonderful. Anything else I can think of? Closing thoughts. Now, I tried thinking to myself, how would I like rank the seasons? And I stopped myself on that. It's like, I mean, I could do that, but then that just, what's the point? You know? I didn't think there were any weak seasons. Yeah, I didn't think there were any really weak seasons. I mean, season 1 had to build up. You know, it started from scratch. So I guess that's the weakest season, but I don't know, man. I enjoyed them all. That's another thing. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. always reinvented itself. Every season it came back as a different kind of show. It had a major, it turned itself on its ear a little bit and then came back as something else. Every single time. It never disappointed. I really loved it. I really loved it. If I had to rate the whole series out of 10, I don't know if I could give it a 10. I don't know if I've seen the 10 series yet. It's certainly like a 9.5 or more, on that scale for sure. Yeah. Let me know, guys. Let me know what you thought. I just wanted to give you this quick little summary, this little kind of a free thought process of what I thought about the show and what it meant to me. I'd love hearing from you about what it meant to you and what you thought of the show. And also anything that I said that rings with you or you disagree with, let me know. Thanks for watching all these episodes. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.